Her rocket ship run comes at an opportune time. In 2024, Caitlin Clark's rookie season helped the WNBA hit milestone TV and attendance figures, but Clark's emergence created a toxic, racially divisive narrative that she was almost singularly responsible for salvaging a league whose foundation had been built by a mostly Black player base.
Stop right there. Read that paragraph again. Time magazine just published their Athlete of the Year profile on A'ja Wilson in January 2025. And buried in the celebration is this line: Caitlin Clark's emergence created a toxic, racially divisive narrative. The same magazine that crowned Clark their 2024 Sports Person of the Year is now framing her impact as divisive. And here's what makes this absolutely wild. This isn't A'ja saying this. This is the journalists framing in what should be A'ja's moment. So why is Caitlin Clark's name even in this article?
I'm gonna stop right there because, like I said, Caitlin Clark was Time Sports Person of the Year last year, and in that article, she was asked multiple times about these narratives around Caitlin and the racial divide that happens in America, and specifically around women's basketball. It has gotten so insane, and she has denounced it so many times. She said it in the Times article that she doesn't want her name to be used for these different negative and divisive things that it's used for.
That's the question everyone's asking. A'ja Wilson just won her third WNBA MVP award, her second Olympic gold medal, and was named tournament MVP in Paris. Her resume speaks for itself. She's the most dominant player in the WNBA right now, putting up numbers that put her on track to break multiple league records. This should be wall-to-wall celebration of her achievements. Instead, the article's viral moments are all about Caitlin Clark. The reporter made a choice here, and that choice reveals something broken in how WNBA media operates.
Up the toxic, racially divisive narrative around Caitlin Clark that she had nothing to do with. She had nothing to do with, and for the most part, it's the media. And also this part, you guys, I'm seeing that this is going viral. It doesn't look like A'ja says anything negative about Caitlin Clark. This just seems to be some sort of narrative or agenda that this journalist just has to put in this article, which again is taking spotlight away from A'ja when this should be Asia's day to shine.
Let's be specific about what Caitlin Clark actually said when Time magazine interviewed her in 2020. She was asked multiple times about racial narratives surrounding her popularity. She explicitly stated she doesn't want her name used for divisive purposes. She's publicly credited the WNBA's predominantly Black player base for building the league's foundation on countless occasions. She's done everything media has asked her to do. And still, in January 2025, Time magazine publishes a profile that resurrects this exact narrative she's tried to shut down. The journalist wrote, Clark's emergence created a toxic, racially divisive narrative that she was almost singularly responsible for salvaging a league whose foundation had been built by mostly Black player base. Notice the passive construction there. Created a narrative. Who created it? Because it wasn't Caitlin Clark.
Fine. Anyway, I'm going to continue. The storyline bothered Wilson, who in 2024 earned her third WNBA MVP award and her second Olympic gold medal in Paris, where she was named tournament MVP. It wasn't a hit at me because I'm going to do me regardless. She says, I'm going to win this MVP. I'll win a gold medal. Y'all can shake my resume. It was more so, let's not lose the recipe. Let's not lose the history. It was erased for a minute. And I don't like that because we have tons of women that have been through.
Here's what actually happened. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA in April 2024, viewership exploded. The Indiana Fever season opener drew 2.1 million viewers on ESPN, making it the most-watched WNBA game in 23 years. Her first road game in Connecticut sold out in hours. Jersey sales went through the roof. The league secured charter flights for all teams, something players had been fighting for years to get. These are facts, measurable, verifiable facts. But somehow acknowledging these facts became controversial. Media outlets started framing it as, are you Team Caitlin or Team everyone else? That framing didn't come from players. It came from media trying to manufacture conflict for engagement.
League. Like, at what point can we just talk about what is in front of us? For example, when we're talking about Caitlin and the Caitlin Clark effect, or what she does on the court, or how she plays basketball, or how she elevated the sport, how she elevated the WNBA, we don't have to say Caitlin elevated the WNBA and she has been the main reason for the rise in women's basketball. We don't have to also say, but you can't forget about Lisa Leslie and Cheryl Miller and Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, and we don't.
Now look at this section that's going viral. The article continues. The storyline bothered Wilson, who in 2024 earned her third WNBA MVP award and her second Olympic gold medal in Paris, where she was named tournament MVP. Then A'ja is quoted, It wasn't a hit at me because I'm going to do me regardless. I'm going to win this MVP. I'll win a gold medal. Y'all can shake my resume. It was more so, let's not lose the rest. Let's not lose the history. It was erased for a minute and I don't like that. And here's where this gets interesting. Aja isn't attacking Caitlyn here. She's expressing frustration that media coverage shifted so dramatically that other storylines got buried. That's a legitimate point, but the way the journalist frames it creates this false binary, Caitlyn's rise versus everyone else's legacy.
You have to mention them in the same breath. It's really okay to give people props and keep it pushing. None of us, by not always mentioning everybody else who came before Caitlyn, is immediately disrespecting them or not, what's the word I'm trying to say, like not recognizing that yes, they did come before and yes, they were incredible basketball players and they didn't have the fame and the notoriety, but it's the same sort of thing.
This is the pattern that's killing WNBA growth. Every conversation about current success has to include a disclaimer about past greatness. When we talk about Caitlyn Clark breaking the NCAA scoring record, someone immediately says, but don't forget about Cheryl Miller. When we discuss her impact on WNBA viewership, someone jumps in with Lisa Leslie and Diana Taurasi built this league. And yes, that's all true. But here's the thing. We don't do this in men's sports. When LeBron James plays his 41st season at age 40, we don't stop the broadcast to say, but remember, Magic Johnson played 13 seasons and was really important too. We can celebrate LeBron's longevity while understanding that Magic and Larry Bird built the modern NBA. Both things exist simultaneously without constant disclaimers.
A space that it just doesn't make sense. I just think it's strange. I think it's strange. I don't think it always has to be brought up. And I hate that this reporter is trying to bait Asia into talking about it once again. It just seems weird. And there's more. The 2025 WNBA campaign provided a measure of vindication for many players. Despite Clark's missing most of the season with an injury, something Wilson, to be clear, did not cheer. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Why? To be clear,
But wait, because it gets worse. The article then states, despite Clark's missing most of the season with an injury, something Wilson, to be clear, did not cheer. Stop. Read that again. To be clear, did not cheer. Why does Time magazine need to clarify that Aja Wilson, a professional athlete and Olympic gold medalist, didn't celebrate a competitor's injury? Who was suggesting she did? This is the journalist creating a straw man argument that didn't exist. No one with any credibility was accusing Aja Wilson of cheering for injuries. But by including this bizarre clarification, the article plants that idea in readers' minds. It's sloppy journalism at best, deliberately inflammatory at worst.
not cheer. Who was cheering for her to be injured? Who was cheering for her to be injured? Why did they have to make that clear that Asia didn't cheer? That's crazy. Has this journalist ever watched a single game of basketball? Who's cheering for injuries? But just had to make that clear. She's not cheering for it. Oh my gosh. Viewership for both the regular season and postseason was up 5% to 6% on a per game average across ESPN networks. Sometimes you need.
Now let's talk about what actually happened during Caitlyn Clark's injury. In the 2025 season, she suffered a high ankle sprain in late January that sidelined her for 6 weeks. When she first went down, WNBA viewership on ESPN dropped by 48% for Fever games. League-wide regular season viewership dropped from the record 1.119 million average viewers in 2024 to around 640,000 per game during her absence. But here's what the Time article emphasizes. Viewership for both the regular season and postseason was up 5 to 6% on a per-game average across ESPN networks. They're framing this as proof the league doesn't need Caitlyn Clark. Except that's comparing 2025 to compared to the previous season when Clark played all 40 games. Viewership was actually down significantly during her injury absence.
Need a proof in the pudding, said Wilson. The biggest thing for us and why I was so happy is that we continue to rise to the occasion. This was just a matter of time for us to really bloom and blossom because we have been invested in each other and our craft for a very long time. It was just like they're going to pay attention.
And here's the detail that reveals what was really happening with attendance during Clark's injury. She was still coming to home games. She'd arrived 2 hours before tip-off and spend 90 minutes signing autographs for fans while in a walking boot. Fever ticket sales remained strong, not because people wanted to watch the team without her, but because they hoped to see her on the bench or catch her before the game. The moment she returned to play in March, viewership spiked back up. Her first game back drew 1.8 million viewers. The data is clear. But the narrative in this article ignores it.
Because I'm like, what's this whole thing about Caitlin? Caitlin Clark is currently trending on Twitter because this kind of stuff actually makes me so angry, because this is the reason that the WNBA isn't able to grow to the level that they should be able to grow to because of this boom. No other sport has seen a boom like this in recent history. We are getting this crazy boom, this crazy engagement, viewership, attendance, jersey sales, all-star, chartered flights, like the list goes on and on. I don't have to go over it with you guys. You guys know what I'm talking about. And we have to try to put down the player who did that. This is so ranty and rambly, but I'm annoyed.
Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, because this isn't really about one Time magazine article. This is about a pattern in WNBA media coverage that's been building for 2 years now. In April 2024, when Caitlin Clark was drafted first overall, the coverage was overwhelmingly positive. But within weeks, think pieces started appearing questioning whether her popularity was good for the league or whether it overshadowed other players. By June, you had WNBA legends like Cheryl Swoops publicly questioning Clark's college scoring record, claiming she played extra games to pad her stats. That was factually incorrect, easily disproven, but it spread anyway, because the narrative had shifted from celebration to resentment. Then in September 2024, after the Fever were eliminated from the playoffs, Connecticut Sun owner Sheila Johnson gave an interview saying Caitlin Clark should have shared her Time magazine cover with the entire WNBA. Think about that for a second. A team owner publicly stating that an individual athlete receiving an individual honor should have somehow split it with 43 other players. Can you imagine an NBA owner saying Giannis Antetokounmpo should share his Sports Illustrated cover with the whole league? It's absurd. But in WNBA media spaces, this kind of take gets treated as reasonable discourse.
Why are you doing on Time magazine? What are you doing? Honestly, those are the two clips that I wanted to go over. I need to dive into this article, and if you guys want, I can do a deeper dive into the article and actually talk about Asia, but these narratives have to stop. I wish with all of this that we could just be celebrating Asia for winning Athlete of the Year. She has been one of the most dominant WNBA players that we have seen in recent history, and she has the chance to break so many records on this.
Now we're in January 2025, and Time magazine is doing the exact same thing to Aja Wilson that was done to Caitlin Clark. They're taking an athlete's genuine achievement and wrapping it in controversy. Aja Wilson deserves better than this. She's 28 years old, entering her prime, and she's putting together one of the great WNBA careers we've ever seen. She's a 3-time MVP, 2-time champion with the Las Vegas Aces, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and she's on pace to become the WNBA's all-time leading scorer if she maintains her current trajectory. Her 2024 season was statistically dominant: 27.3 points per game, 11.9 rebounds, 56.7% shooting from the field. She led the Aces to back-to-back championships. This is her story. This should be her moment.
Streak that she's going. She has a chance to win more rings. She has a chance to win more MVPs. She has a chance to win Defensive Player of the Year. She's a very good defender as well. She's a great talent and a great athlete. And I wish that we would focus on that instead of focusing on all of this extra stuff. Like, let Fox News and CNN and whatever political outlet, let them handle this crap that literally does nothing to move the game forward. The last thing I want to say, when Caitlin Clark was Time.
Instead, Caitlin Clark is trending on Twitter because of Aja Wilson's Athlete of the Year profile. That's not Aja's fault. That's not Caitlin's fault. That's the journalist who wrote this article making deliberate choices about how to frame the story. And those choices reveal something about how certain media members view the WNBA's growth. There's this underlying anxiety that if we admit Caitlin Clark was the primary driver of the 2024 viewership boom, it somehow diminishes everyone else. But that's not how sports work. Tiger Woods drove golf viewership in the 2000s. TV ratings dropped 50% when he wasn't in contention on Sunday. Does that mean Phil Mickelson and Vijay Singh weren't great golfers? Of course not. It just means Tiger was a transcendent star who brought casual fans to the sport.
Sports Person of the Year last year. You guys remember the firestorm around that. And again, it seems like she can't say anything right that's going to please everyone, no matter if she denounces the narratives that are circling around her name, whether she props up players who have come before her, because she has done that on countless of occasions publicly. So many times she has done that. She can never win. And when she was on the cover,
the WNBA is in the middle of the most significant growth period in its 28-year history. Average attendance in 2024 was 9,807 fans per game, up 48% from 2023. The league signed a new media rights deal worth $2.2 billion over 11 years. Starting in that's a massive increase from the previous deal that paid about $50 million per year. 3 expansion teams are joining by Golden State, Toronto, and Portland. This is happening because of the 2024 season's success. And yes, Caitlin Clark was the biggest factor in that success. The numbers don't lie. But acknowledging that doesn't erase Diana Taurasi's 20-year career or Lisa Leslie's pioneering impact or A'ja Wilson's current dominance. All of these things coexist.
I wouldn't imagine in the year of 2025, they're in these CBA negotiations, all of these things, that it would still be, we still wouldn't be able to admit, accept, and celebrate all of the amazing things that Caitlin has brought to the game. And at the same time, just don't tear her down. You don't even have to celebrate her. Just stop tearing her down, media. Why? What's the reason? Yeah, that's all I've got, you guys. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Radmiss is starting very soon. Stay tuned for that. I'll have a vlog coming to you guys from New York.
Here's what frustrates me about articles like this. Time magazine piece. They're written by people who claim to care about the WNBA's growth, but their framing actively works against that growth. New fans who started watching because of Caitlin Clark read an article like this and think, why is everyone so angry all the time? They see A'ja Wilson's incredible achievements being presented alongside grievances about media coverage. And it's confused. It creates the impression that the WNBA is more focused on internal politics than basketball excellence. And that's not true. The players are focused on basketball. The coaches are focused on winning. It's the media ecosystem that keeps manufacturing these conflicts. Think about the position this puts both Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson in. Caitlin has been asked about race and WNBA history in literally every major interview she's done since March 2024. She's given the right answers every single time. She's praised the players who came before her. She's acknowledged her privilege. She's talked about wanting to use her platform to elevate the entire league. What else can she possibly say at this point? And A'ja is being asked to constantly respond to Caitlin Clark's popularity, as if A'ja's success is somehow in competition with Caitlin's success. They play different positions, they're on different teams, they're both great players. Why does every article about one of them have to mention the other? The answer is that media members have decided this is the storyline. They've decided the WNBA's growth has to be complicated by racial dynamics and generational tension. And look, those dynamics exist in American sport. We can't pretend they don't. But the way to address them isn't to inject them into every single story, especially stories that are supposed to be celebrations of individual achievement. When A'ja Wilson wins Athlete of the Year, the story should be about her work ethic, her skill development, her leadership, her clutch performances in big moments. Instead, we get paragraphs about Caitlin Clark's toxic, racially divisive narrative that Clark herself has repeatedly denounced. Here's what should have been in this article instead. A'ja Wilson grew up in South Carolina, the daughter of former basketball player Roscoe Wilson and Eva Wilson. She played at South Carolina under Dawn Staley, winning a national championship in 2017 and becoming the most decorated player in program history. She was drafted first overall by the Las Vegas Aces in 2018 and immediately made an impact, winning Rookie of the Year. She's dealt with significant injuries, including a high ankle sprain in 2019 that threatened her career trajectory. She came back stronger. She developed a reliable mid-range game to complement her interior dominance. She became a better passer, a more vocal leader. In 2022, she led the Aces to their first WNBA championship. In 2023, they repeated. In 2024, she won her third MVP award, joining Sheryl Swoopes and Lisa Leslie as the only 3-time winners in league history. That's the story. That's what Time magazine should have focused on. A'ja's journey from promising rookie to established superstar to all-time great. Her statistical dominance. She's averaging 20.4 points and 9.3 rebounds for her career, with a 53.8 field goal percentage. Her consistency. She's made the All-Star team every single season of her career. Her durability. She's only missed 12 games total in 7 seasons. Her clutch gene in elimination games during the Aces championship runs. She averaged 28.5 points and 12.7 rebounds. These are the facts that make A'ja Wilson Athlete of the Year material. But instead, the article spends multiple paragraphs on Caitlin Clark's divisive narrative and includes a bizarre clarification that A'ja didn't cheer for Clark's injury. It frames the WNBA's 2025 viewership as vindication for players, as if they needed to prove the league could survive without Clark. That framing is insulting to everyone involved. It suggests that A'ja and other established stars were somehow threatened by a rookie's popularity. There's no evidence of that. What players were actually frustrated about was media coverage that ignored their accomplishments while focusing exclusively on Clark. That's a legitimate complaint about media, not about Clark herself. And here's the thing about beat reporters and national media covering the WNBA. They're in an impossible position right now. The league's growth is undeniably tied to Caitlin Clark's arrival, but acknowledging that too directly brings accusations of racism or disrespecting the league's history. So they overcompensate by constantly adding disclaimers and qualifiers. Every story about Clark has to mention other players. Every celebration of her impact has to be balanced with reminders about who came before. It's exhausting for everyone, including